Hey everyone, this is Mike and today we are back in Legends of Runeterra, as last night the game finally had its official release. Of course the game had been in open beta for quite some time now, but yesterday marked its 1.0 patch, and with that comes a bunch of cool new stuff. Most importantly, new champions, new cards, new keywords, which are also pretty cool to look at, a new region, Bilgewater, and some cosmetic stuff as well, which I also always quite enjoy in my games. Now, together with this update, they also updated some older stuff, like for example the region boards, or the region roads as they're called in this game, like the season passes, so to speak. They also got an extension to them. So in one of my previous videos on Legends of Runeterra, I talked about being curious to see how they were going to handle card expansions and that kind of stuff. Well, basically, they are expanding on what is already there and just giving you some extra levels to grind out. So instead of there only being 20 levels per region road, you now have 25 levels. If you have not completed your region roads previous to this patch, you also get an experience boost to catch up on the previous levels to get to the good new stuff as well, which I think is really cool. Now, when it comes down to the actual thing, let's first talk about the keywords, because we're going to be talking about everything that's in this patch, show off all of the things that you might want to know. But we're going to be talking about the keywords first, because that is probably what most people are interested in, as this immediately impacts your gameplay. First of all, we have Deep. Whenever this is active, all of your cards with Deep have +3/+3, and you activate this effect by having 15 or less cards in your deck left. So once you get to 15 or less, your deck will kind of submerge underwater with a really cool animation, so this way you know that you are in Deep, or for example when your opponent has Deep active as well, and then all of your Deep creatures will get this effect. This works really well together with another keyword, which is Toss, where you will draw cards from your deck and basically just obliterate them, meaning they don't die, they just vanish into thin air, kind of. There are some cards that also work together with this to get creatures that you toss to come back and that kind of stuff, which is really cool. But in general, toss away your cards, thin out your deck until you have 15 or less, and then your Deep creatures will become that much stronger. So really cool combination that you can do there. Moving on to Scout. Scout units basically are allowed to attack twice per turn. So the first time on your turn when you attack, and you attack with only Scout units, you will get a second attack chance again as well. So if you attack with Scouts and a normal unit as your first attack, then you won't get this rally effect, so to speak. But if you attack with only your Scouts, you get a second attack back. So this is really good for whittling down your opponent. Also really strong for certain cards, like for example give +2 attack for 1 turn, or give a specific unit first strike for 1 turn, or quick attack, I believe it's called in this game, for 1 turn or something like that, because they can use it twice in 1 turn rather than just the 1 time. So really cool keywords right there as well. Vulnerable is basically a reverse challenger. So with challenger, of course, that one unit can pick a random unit to attack or a random unit to block it, which is quite strong, but vulnerable is basically the reverse of that. You give it to a random enemy unit, or sometimes your units will just spawn with it, because certain units have vulnerable as a keyword attached to them, and it basically means that a unit with vulnerable can be challenged by any unit attacking. So it's basically the reverse of challenger, which can lead to quite some cool synergies as well. Attuned will refill your spell mana, or 1 spell mana, whenever that creature is summoned. This is very good if you have spell-based decks. Of course, you do need to make sure you don't have 3 spell mana filled already when you summon these creatures, but in general, this works quite nice to just get a little bit of mana back, so that you can get some extra spells out. And then last but not least, we have Plunder. This effect will trigger when the card is played after you dealt damage to the enemy nexus that round. So you first need to do damage to the nexus, and then you need to play the card. If the card is already in play and then you deal damage to the nexus, like for example say a creature that you played previously, then this effect won't trigger. So you need to make sure that you first deal damage to the nexus before playing the Plunder card in order to trigger its bonus effects. And these effects can be pretty simple, like for example drawing an extra card or dealing bonus damage or something like that. Some pretty cool stuff. Then alongside with that, we also have the mobile launch of the game. So if you want to play it on your phone, you can now do so. I know a friend of mine is probably going to be really excited for this, because he was already playing it on his phone using Steam Play or something like that. So he was basically using his phone to play on the PC. But now there is an actual mobile version, both on iOS and Android. Now, if you're somebody that was a beta player, or if you want to join right now at launch, you'll also get a Moonstruck Poro reward, which is basically a little guardian that will show up next to your board and basically just get a new one for free. For the first week, there's also login rewards, which will award you with a champion capsule as well as a deck that has 2 ashes in it. So you definitely want to go and log in right now to basically claim those login rewards. Now, they do word it a little bit weirdly, so I'm not 100% sure how this is gonna work. They do say we've added a 1 time per account track of first week login rewards. Does this mean that this is only going to be for the first week? So if you missed yesterday, you're already missing out on a day. Does this mean that you're just going to get a week of login rewards worth and that it's only a one-time thing? Or is this the first week of login rewards to come in the future as well? Like, is it just going to keep running forward into future weeks as well? Not 100% sure. So far there are 7 days worth of login rewards, so just make sure to go claim these every day because there are some pretty good rewards in there. Then, as I said, the region road got some updates as well. We have, of course, Bilgewater, a new region that you can go and level up. And then all of the previously existing regions now are extended towards level 25. Now, at level 25 itself, you can also get a cool new cosmetic, which is going to be a card back, which is a new type of cosmetic that you can both buy as well as earn through these region roads. Now, when it comes down to personalization, there's a bunch of different stuff that you can add to your deck. You have your boards, you have your card backs, and you also have your emotes, because they also added a bunch of new emotes into the shop as well. And this can get kind of tricky to keep track of. Like, for example, if you're someone like me that likes to have all of their card backs, or for example the boards themed towards the deck that you are playing, then you might want to, for example, when you're playing a Bilgewater focus deck, have the Bilgewater board active, and maybe the Bilgewater card backs or something like that. And then for other regions, the exact same thing. Well, previously you would always have to go into your loadout, change all of those things out to what you want it to be, and then hit play. Whereas right now, you can attach these things to each specific deck. So if you build a new deck, you can go into the deck customization, and then you can add card backs, boards, as well as emotes to that deck depending on what you want it to be. So just all good stuff in general. There's also 2 new guardians that they added, some new emotes that you can buy with real money, and then also all of the card backs. Now, most of the card backs are going to be earned through these region roads. There's also a couple of other ones that you will have to buy with real money currency. Same thing goes for the boards. We have the Bilgewater board, which is new, and then we also have the Jinx and the Garen board, which again are also for like you pay it with real money, with real world currency. Now, other than this, they also added a very small change to playing units when you have a full board. So as you know, you can only have 6 units on a board, and when you would want to play a 7th unit, you can't do that. Now, right now, they are going to allow to do that. So for example, if you, for example, have a Zerg board, so to speak, where you're playing a lot of like low attack, low defense creatures that have a low cost to them, well, if you go into the late game with that, just having a bunch of 1-cost units is probably not going to be that strong against your opponent having a bunch of stronger units. Well, if you then draw a unit that is really strong that you might want to play, but your opponent isn't letting you kill off your weak units, then you can just like play a new card and you can select one of your already existing cards on the board to just be obliterated. Now, because it is obliterate, it doesn't trigger last breaths effect, which is a keyword that when a unit dies, it triggers a specific effect. Because it gets obliterated, it doesn't die. So that's something to kind of work around. I think it's a good adjustment, because sometimes if you're playing, for example, like an Elise deck with a bunch of spiderlings, sometimes going into the late game could make you feel a little bit weak, and now you can basically just be like, okay, I'm gonna obliterate this 1/1 spiderling and throw in a big spider instead, or something like that, which I think is pretty cool. So those are pretty much the updates to Legends of Runeterra. So far, really excited about this update. Every single region has a new champion. There's some new cosmetics for you to obtain through these region roads as well. And then of course, just a bunch of new play styles for you to play around with as well through these new champions that were introduced, or through all of these new keywords that were introduced as well, because they are all pretty cool to play around with. But that's pretty much all I wanted to talk in today's video. That's a quick overlook of the current patch of Legends of Runeterra. Really excited to be playing the game again, and I definitely recommend other people to do so as well. So that's gonna be it for me. I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.